Let's do this again.
The beat drop.
Right. Right on time, though. That was right on time.
All right, go ahead.
So that's Mike.
And that's Toya.
And this is Tech Beats and Bytes.
We'd like to welcome you guys to Tech Beats and Bytes. We're going to go ahead and make sure we do this the right way, get this out of the way. We are proudly supported and funded by the Knight Foundation. This is brought to you by world-famous House of Mac and also Digital Grass.
Yeah.
The liquor that is sponsoring this, what we are going to be drinking on is Timeline Brewery. And the one and only DJ Selfborn. Let's give him a round of applause. It's all right.
Always with the old school hip-hop and R&B.
One of the best DJs in the world, not just South Florida. The most humble, what's your tagline again?
Let me tell you, it's the most magnificent, the most humble DJ on the planet.
There you go.
Write it down, take a picture.
So today we have a superhero that has been holding down the community. You guys know this area as Wynwood. Everybody else knows this area as an extension of this is Overtown, by the way. I don't think they changed the zip code. But let's give a round of applause for Tina Brown of Overtown Youth Center. Let's give her a round of applause.
Right. Morning Family Foundation.
Yes.
Organization.
So, Tina, you have spoken to our cameraman, Dante Pendergrass.
That's his karaoke name.
That's his karaoke name. You have talked about being on the show, and we finally have you here. So, won't you tell the people a little bit about Overtown Youth Center? Just make sure you're talking to the mic. You got to get close. We working on a budget. We ain't got the good mic. You got to get close.
All right.
There you
Hello
go.
out there. So, my name is Tina Brown, Executive Director of the Overtown Youth Center. And the Overtown Youth Center is a youth development organization that's been around for the past 14 years. And our goal is primarily to bridge educational, social, and emotional gaps for young people growing up in our community.
Hold on. We're going to have to unpack that really quick.
Right. But let her finish the spiel, and then we can circle.
Bro, that sounded like a rap song. You got to write.
Right.
Let me take notes. I'm on that.
That was
educational.
She had that nicely packaged.
Bruh.
She's done this before. Go ahead.
Spitting bars. She just kept the beat going. Go ahead, Tina.
All right. So, the Overtown Youth Center is a youth development organization that really focuses on bridging the gaps of young people in the area of education, social, and emotional well-being. So our goal at the end of the day is to provide meaningful program services to over 500 kids and to ensure that these young people become productive citizens of their community.
That's major.
So,
and for 500 kids.
500.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
A lot of kids.
I got a 6-kid maximum before I start breaking down. After 6, I just start losing.
Right.
One of the things, can you repeat that educational, emotional, repeat the gap thing. Spit that bar real
So
quick.
our goal is to bridge social, emotional, and educational gaps for young people growing up in our community.
Tell us about, I think, some of the social economics a lot of people understand. I think educational, we understand the quality of the schools in different neighborhoods.
Right.
But I think when you start talking about mental health and mental awareness and you start talking about emotional things, that's not really as explained as much. Can you tell us maybe some of the emotional struggles you see with our youth and what you guys are doing there? Like, what made that a targeted area where you started noticing there's an emotional breakdown with our children, with our youth in our community? Where did that come from?
Sure. I mean, look, growing up for a lot of kids growing up in communities like Overtown, where the average income is about $25,000 per year, we see a lot
for the household.
For the household.
Right.
Okay. We see a lot of children coming from single-family homes. We see a lot of issues in the homes from time to time. And, a lot of times people think that, education is or should be the primary focus, but just think about it for a second. If you're having some issues at home with your mom, or if your mom is if your mom is struggling financially, or if your parents are on drugs, or if you're being raised by a grandparent, and if you have multiple siblings and there's a real struggle in the house, just think about it. How can a kid go to school and just be prepared and ready to be educated?
Right.
So we realize that emotional support is very important. And it's a critical element to success for our young people. So when we talk about emotional support in our organization, it's really about strong relational bonds where kids have a safe space to express themselves and to get services that they need, to get those support services that'll help them really to cope with situations at home. Our goal is to build resilient children because even as adults, we all have issues, we all have problems that we deal with, and we all need some emotional guidance. But for young people, it's critical. And so our goal is really to provide that emotional support, giving them a safe space, giving them an opportunity to really be exposed and to have opportunities to a lot of things that affluent or middle class children have exposure to. So our goal is to really sort of break them away from that mental stress while they're young.
Right.
And that's really important. So when they go to school, they're ready. They're ready to be educated. And when they leave school, that they know that they have a safe place, a group of confidence, some caring individuals that can help them work through situations that they may be experiencing at home.
Yeah, and I know we're talking about goals, so we're kind of up here. Let's bring it down a little bit. So what are some of the tactics or the programs or services that OYC, Overtown Youth Center, provides for those kids?
Okay, so I mean, some of our main services include in-school service support, where we actually go to schools with the students, our staff, and we're there to really serve as advocates on behalf of kids. You know, look, sometimes our students get marginalized in schools, and so when teachers and others may not feel that they have that support at home, they may get left behind often. So we're there to serve as advocates for them during the school day. We're there to serve as mentors during the school day. We're there to give them a high five. Hey, what's up? How you doing? You know, what's going on at home? You know, that kind of stuff. Or if they're struggling in a certain area in school, we're there to help them. So we provide those in-school service supports to help them get through the school day. And then we provide after-school program services where, you know, students will come to our program after school and really have an opportunity to breathe a little bit. You know, we do a little homework, we have a little fun, you know, we provide dance, music, art, culinary, technology, STEM-related activities. So, you know, at the center, you can just kind of break away from all of the, you know, the monotony of the day and just really be a kid, be a young person.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
And you know, our after school program is really designed to, you know, help them where they need help academically, but also to really tap into their gifts and into their talents.
So if we move outside of the structure, what are some of the things that really makes OYC unique? I think the reason why I say that is because you have organizations, you know, like the Boys Club, you know, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, other things that are kind of structured to help kids. But what really makes OYC unique, besides the fact of it being in Overtown? What are some of the things that you say you guys do different that you wouldn't find in most traditional after-school care programs or something like that?
So, you know, look, hats off to all of the other community-based programs, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the Y. I think, you know, they all do great work, and at the end of the day, we all are really striving towards similar goals. What makes our program really unique is the fact that we're very comprehensive and holistic, and the fact that we provide a wraparound approach to providing services to young people. So our services really go beyond the school day. You know, we're really a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week shop. You know, whatever it takes.
That's so important.
Giving kids your cell numbers, giving parents your cell numbers.
So it's not just a job; it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. It's definitely a lifestyle.
So are you mainly your staff? I know you have actual staff, but is your organization mainly sort of supported and ran by volunteers who are mentors, or is it really all staff that are paid to be 24/7?
So it's a combination of a lot of different things, but primarily it's paid staff.
Paid staff, okay.
It's paid staff.
So now let's get a little bit deeper.
All right.
You have a neighborhood where, of course, 95 came right into the heart of the neighborhood. And if anybody knows where Overtown Youth Center is at, it's pretty much, to me, that central point of where things change. And Overtown, of course, was a community where back in the day, a lot of your black celebrities that would perform on Miami Beach, they had to come to Overtown to stay because they weren't allowed to sleep at the white hotels. They had to come to Overtown. When you think about the segregation and the racial tensions that happen between, I would say, the city of Miami and Overtown, how much do you think that still affects the youth that are there today?
I mean, I think that definitely there are still some residue of definitely the separation and the fact that 95 came through a really rich community. In terms of affecting the kids today. I mean, here we are probably, 30 years later, 40 years later, and we still are plagued by issues of poverty in our community. We still very much see families that have been living in Overtown for generations. And, I think that for the young people today, many of them don't know the history of Overtown.
That's going to be my part too.
And they really don't understand what used to happen in Overtown around black businesses, thriving, entertainment.
Hold on, before you move forward, because we know a lot, and sometimes we get wrapped up in conversations where we're just talking amongst us. But a lot of our viewers may not know some of the history of Overtown. So would you mind telling, and of course some of the people here, would you mind giving them kind of the history of Overtown and why what I said in 95 coming through such a rich community was such an important factor? Do you mind giving like a little history about Overtown?
Sure. So it's just like you said. I mean, Overtown is definitely a community where, predominantly African American families lived, and where, again, like you said, where entertainers would come through Overtown. They could only stay in Overtown, and that's pretty much, the history of Overtown. It was rich. It was filled with, it was a community. It still is a community, but it was a family-oriented community where families thrived, Families stuck together. It wasn't so much plagued by drugs and alcohols and things like that. It was a place of entertainment. It was a place where, black people came together. They lived together. They played together harmoniously. And after 95 sort of came through and just kind of segregated that community, it kind of went downhill ever since.
And it seems like to me, and I'm sorry, Toya, I know, but it's like, it seems to me, Overtown reminds me of what Compton was to California.
Or Harlem to New York.
Yeah.
Because it was called the Harlem of the South.
Right. And when I think about those cities, it's like, why does it always seem like strategically somebody breaks down those rich communities? I mean, unfortunately, I think I know the answer. But it seems so consistent, and it happened heavily between the 60s and I would say the 50s and the 80s. That's when it happened a lot. And I would say Compton might have been a little bit before then. They were starting to break down before. But what are you seeing as some of the things that, because I look at Wynwood and it feels like that redevelopment skipped to the furthest part of Overtown. And it's like, all right, we're going to leave Overtown out, but we're going to do what we got to do here, rename it, and just leave the community out that struggled and survived through the drug plagues and everything else. So when you see that, I feel the same way about the kids being left out on a lot of opportunities. And that's the part that bothers me the most. So how do we bring the youth, I guess, to the other side of the tracks without...
Well, look, number one, I think you have to educate the youth. I think you have to teach them their history. But look, it's the inevitable. We've seen it in major metropolitan cities where gentrification happens, right?
Yeah.
So it is a reality. It's here. So what do we have to do as a community? We have to educate our young people. We have to educate our families. And we have to get them prepared, We have to prepare them to be able to live in the community that they love, right? What does that mean? We have to bring quality programs to our children. We have to bring quality programs to our families. We have to give them a fighting chance to succeed in life, right? And so we, in addition to all of that, we have to be a voice for our community, right? So the old cliche is, we have to be a voice to the voiceless.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't necessarily call them voiceless, but we're those of us who understand, what it means to protect our history, what it means to protect our culture, what it means
Right.
to protect our young people,
Preserve it for the future.
and preserve it for the future.
Yeah.
We have to make certain demands in our community where our children and families can feel like they belong here.
Yeah. And thinking about historic preservation and then looking to the future, Bright Line is coming.
Right.
Same type path, kind of like right on the edge of Overtown. How are you all preparing for what that's going to mean for your community and the impact that's going to have on Overtown and the youth there?
So it's the same thing. It's, look, getting the word out there, educating them, talking about these projects, talking about the developers, talking about not just talking about it in a negative way, but talking
Right.
about, the opportunities
exactly.
So look,
that can
hold on.
exist.
Has Brightline came into the community and talked about the job opportunities to provide to the youth and to the kids in that community?
They have.
Okay.
They have. We've had a lot of the major developers come into the community to discuss their plans, to, promise, that our community would not be left behind. But I think that there is a responsibility for us to be ready for those opportunities. So a lot of
Yeah.
times you find that, look, you
I
have
mean, but is it sincere? Because, Intel pledged $300 million to diversity and inclusion.
Right.
And to this day, nobody can tell you where that $300 million is gone. So, to me, sometimes when developers and people come into the community to say they're going to do good for the community, it's no different than these fake ass positions of, I was trying to use a more polite word, but
politically.
it
Not at this
wasn't gonna
time.
happen.
Not at this time.
Yeah, it was
Come on.
these fake positions that they have at these large corporations where you put somebody into the power of diversity and inclusion, but they have no voting power, no policy changes. So coming into the community to just let me know your plans is not coming into the community saying,
Right.
these are the skills you need to have to be able to
Let
fulfill
me
the
create
jobs.
a pipeline so
Right.
that way your kids can then become employees of my establishment. or
Yeah,
whatever.
so why
open
hasn't
up a business?
Exactly. So why hasn't Brightline come to you guys and said these are the things you need to train kids on? Because if they don't make it to college, they would at least have these skill sets to come work for us and be employed by us.
So look, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be real honest and real.
That's what we
Keep it
want to
real.
get
This
to.
is a safe space.
That's what we're
I'm
trying to
gonna-
get
look,
to.
at OIC, we have some standards, and our last standard is like at OIC, we keep it real, right? So I'm gonna say this, right? So just like your mama used to say, and your parents used to tell you all the time, once you get that education, nobody can take that away from you, right? So we don't really need a Bright Line or MDM or a major developer to come into our community and tell us what skills we need, right?
Okay.
Right? I mean, that's just my thought,
Yeah.
right? So
Valid thought.
you look at the news, you read you're on the internet, everything is like at your fingertips. We know what skills are necessary to thrive in this life,
And
right?
you know what?
So
Let her finish.
I get what you're saying, right? Our thing should be, look, whether there was a major developer coming in our community or not, we have a responsibility, right? We have a responsibility to teach our kids, about the next 21st century skill sets that they're going to need.
Right.
We have a responsibility to look at what's going on in this world around technology, around environmental science, even around, even around the vocational trades where now you're seeing these folks that are retiring and you can't even find a plumber, a seamstress, an electrician, you can't find somebody young enough to crawl in your attic. We have to teach our kids what the skill sets that they're going to need to thrive, right? So everybody's not going to college, right?
Yeah, different paths for different people.
And I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I just think the only part where yes, I am. The only reason why I disagree is because nobody is telling the kids at Stanford that. Google comes to Stanford. Okay. Google will recruit from Stanford. Okay. And they will help with the curriculum and the standards of the things they need to have to be able to make sure they're hiring. So cybersecurity is a job right now. Cybersecurity is a large field that doesn't require a college degree.
Absolutely.
You can do cybersecurity with certifications.
Right.
But the thing is, there's like 13 different certifications. So unless a large corporation says these are the certifications you need, you can teach a kid about cybersecurity, but they can get 6 out of the 13 certifications, and it'll be the wrong one. So I get what you're saying, but to me, it's not enough to just say we should know.
Okay, so
I think it's two parts of the same equation.
It's two halves. No, I can get with that. I think you're absolutely right. I think that part of it is our responsibility to teach our children and families.
Right.
Part of it is us sort of holding these companies that come into our community accountable, right?
Right.
So how do we do that? Like, we have to hold them accountable. So some of these companies are knocking down,
historic buildings,
places of residences. And so what are we doing to demand, right? Mm-hmm. What are we doing to demand that they come in a meaningful way and they employ meaningfully, right? Not just a maintenance job, not just a drywall technician, no pun intended.
Right, the whole spectrum.
A whole spectrum of blue collar and white collar laborers. We should demand that they come in and explain all of the opportunities that are available, right? All of the educational opportunities that are available. But not only that, we should also demand that they have this corporate social responsibility to our community, right? Yeah. So if you come in and you build this $50 million complex, right? We should demand that a certain portion of the dollars that you expect to generate will be designated for scholarships.
Right, goes back into the community.
You know what? I was going to switch it up.
For small businesses.
I was going to switch it up just a little bit.
Okay.
I think the plan should be the value of whatever you tear down to build what you're going to build. Whatever you tear down should be designated back to that community in salaries and income.
I love it. So Michael for president.
So I think if Brightline was required to tear down $15 million of value in Overtown, and if that $15 million of value in Overtown would be made back and translated to Brightline within 7 to 8 years, that same amount of money should be designated to employees that are residents of that community, and those are the only people that can redeem that money over the next 7. And if you do not have the skill set, it is then required of you to build the facilities of the training and the educational component to build that community of the value. Yeah. Because to my thing is sometimes people get mixed up between what we would see as equity versus equality.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Equality is just, as they say, equality is just, giving a man fish when he's hungry.
Right.
Equity is teaching a man how to fish so he can forever feed himself.
Right.
And I think too many times people come into the community, which is why I would say a random fact, but because this isn't really a fun fact because I'm not a dope boy. I've always had a problem with dope boys that come into the hood on Thanksgiving and give away turkeys.
Right, because it's the same community that you thriving off of with your dope boy.
So it's like, if anything, transfer your hellified mathematics, because one thing is you have to know math to be a dope boy.
Right. You could parlay that into so many different things.
You can teach the kids how to do math. Teach them. I mean, that's a lot of multiplying, division.
Dude, absolutely. And on the top,
that's accounting. That's accounting.
A lot of business skills necessary to do that too.
So,
you got to manage it.
Right.
Manage a team.
You got a whole supply chain.
Yeah, exactly. Don't give them a turkey.
People get degrees in supply chain
management. Bring them in there, change the product, and teach kids this is how you would run a business. But it's just, I've never liked that mentality of giving someone fish. Like, no, I don't want the fish.
Right.
Show me where the lake is at. Show me where the pond. Show me what bait you're using. Show me the process so when you're not around, I can still feed myself.
Yeah.
No, I like that.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And look, at the end of the day, that's our responsibility.
Right.
Again, at the Overtown Youth Center, that's what we do on a daily basis.
But that's why we're bringing it up, because we know you guys do those things.
We show the kids the lake. We
Yeah.
show them the lake. We give them the fishing rod.
And I remember a story you told me. That would be a fun fact when you was talking about taking some of the kids over to South Beach and taking kids to areas where they didn't even know they were so close to the things that they were watching on TV and admiring.
Right.
And it's like you're literally 3.5 miles away from the dreams you see on TV.
Yeah.
And they have no idea. They've never had that exposure. So that means, like they say,
All right here.
I think it was like 60%. Somebody did a documentary on the little black neighborhoods in Miami, and like 60% of them have never left like a 4 to 5 block radius.
No.
Right. And that's
that
the
was,
same
like,
across
mind-boggling.
cities all over.
Yeah, it was just
It's
mind-boggling to me. Like,
just stuck in a cage, and it's an invisible cage.
like going to that corner store is it for them. Hanging out at in the courtyard on Friday night is their club.
And
Like,
the basketball court.
And that's their
That's it.
reality.
That's it.
That's their reality. And so
Exposure.
Exposure is key.
Seth
You know?
Moore, you want to give us
Man.
our first one for the quick six?
Well, it's more of like a statement to piggyback what y'all were talking about. Because
Go ahead.
my opinion is not so much forcing the powers that be or the corporations to kind of trickle down information. I believe we need a worldwide gentrification class. So we need to go into the hood, because every hood is the same as far as
Yeah.
being affected by gentrification and not understanding gentrification from a positive side and a negative side. So if we really teach that and really get that understanding there, the life skills will come where they'll be on par for anybody that comes into the neighborhood to change it up. They'll
That's true.
already identify. So I lean more towards that, because I still feel like it's like a charity, big white man serves the lowly black people who need, community service.
The
I'm
great
not really
the
with
great
community.
white hope.
Exactly. So I look more at, we just got to stay up on stuff. We got phones. We got all computers in our pockets. So you just really need to know about gentrification. And we need to start those programs, really just educating as young as possible.
And
As soon
one
as
of
they can say the
things,
word.
yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to break down these quick six real quick. So,
Yep.
Tina, if we had to plug into you right now and listen to a song that will represent OYC, in your view, what song will we be listening to?
Ooh, I'm not good with music. I might
The
need
first
a little
song you thought
help.
of.
Right,
just go
first
ahead.
song. Just go with it.
Ew, let me see. Fab, help me out here with little music. Representing
She going for a
OIC.
lifeline.
I need a lifeline out there.
Can I call a friend?
Right.
Come
Can
on,
I-
Tina.
yeah,
Give us a song that represents you then. What's one of your favorite songs you listen to?
Look, call her
Yeah.
out.
I know she do. What? Come on.
Listen, I like all types of
We need
music.
one, Tina. It's a
So,
quick six. You done wasted
Just
a minute.
go.
I'm lost. I'm lost. on
Okay,
songs.
we'll go.
I really am.
We'll come back. We'll come
We'll
back.
come back. We'll go back. Go ahead.
Nope, I'm going to give her a record.
When I
Her new
say-
favorite record is John Kia, From the Ashes. We're going to play it for her when she gets done.
Okay.
Very
Very
There you
cool.
go.
When I say towner for life, what does that mean to you?
Look, it means people who, grew up in Overtown. They understand what it means to be a towner. Their family grew up together, played together, all of that good stuff. Stuck it out, hanging in there, and still representing Overtown for life.
Towner.
So if you had to pick one word to describe OYC, what would that word be? One word, not a phrase, not a sentence, just one word.
Empower.
Yeah, it's on your website. I forgot about that.
Empower.
So one thing that we like to talk about a lot on this show is funding. Give Miami Day just happened.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Quick six about Give Miami Day.
Look, Give Miami Day is awesome. It was an amazing way to further create awareness about our work. And, I love innovative ways for people to give. Give Miami Day is definitely something in our community that helps just average people to get connected to causes that they love and causes that they care about.
Okay. So if you had to pick 500 people to do one repetitive action to help OYC, what would be the one thing you would want them to do?
I'm just going to say, get involved. Mentor. It's not just
Mentor.
about money. It's about time, talent, and treasures. And we all have one of those three things that we can contribute to communities that we love.
Good one. Go ahead.
Love that. Love that. Where will we see OYC in 5 years?
Ooh, OIC in 5 years. We taking over.
And she don't like
We
music.
taking over.
Right. We don't like. So we're gonna just
One community at a time. I mean,
know.
literally.
I think that was 6.
I mean, look, it's not really about taking over. It really is where we plan to be. We plan to be in a space where we can impact the lives of as many kids as we possibly can, because we realize that Overtown is not the only struggling community in
Right.
Miami.
Right.
And we realize that we've perfected our work. We have a team that's dedicated and are willing to go above and beyond a call of duty. And all it takes is a group of caring individuals to change the world. And so we think we have that magic formula. And so we plan to change the landscape of Miami.
I think that's a drop the mic right there.
It is, but I just want to close out with something humorous.
Good.
Okay,
Go.
okay.
What was the most humorous thing Alonzo Mourning said to you while at work?
While at work.
That's the one we want to know about.
Listen, he says a lot of humorous things, but, Alonzo's a pretty serious guy. And, one of the things that he constantly challenges me, like, damn, Tina, like, what are we doing about that? You know what I mean? Like, he wants to change the world. So,
Right.
For me, it's, he's a pretty serious guy, and he means business. And, while it's funny, like, damn, Tina, like, like.
And the fact that he talks
Right,
like that.
yeah, like, damn, Tina, like, what are we doing about that? Like,
I can see him in the meeting.
like, shit, we involved with that? Yeah, we got
No,
that.
he real vocal. Look, when I hosted the Zoe Summit that just happened like a
Right.
few weeks ago, I was like, he is real vocal and
Yeah.
he's about that life. And
Yeah.
he takes those kids very seriously.
I mean,
That's what's
him and
up.
Tracy,
It's a
they
beautiful
look,
thing.
they're serious about
They are
this
very
work that we
serious.
do. And I mean, he wants to be involved in every way possible in
Right.
our community.
Yeah.
And he want to make sure we're touching lives, whether we got the funding or not. Like,
That's what's
just
up.
do it. Get it done.
That's what's
I don't
up.
care.
Beautiful
So
thing.
we really appreciate you coming out, and you are definitely a superhero, not just in this community, but I would say nationwide. I know a lot of people model stuff after Overtown Youth Center, so we want to thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
We want to thank everybody for joining us for Tech Beats and Bytes. We'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Thank-